Hello designers, you're here because you are done with your two patterns, both your geometric and your motif, and you're ready to place one or both in a graphic file to show what that pattern could look like if used on a product. We will be taking your finished patterns and actually applying them to a product through that Zazzle company, and you'll get more information in class about that. But this is just for display purposes to show what this would look like as an actual textile design. So the first thing you have to do is you do have to open up your pattern, your chosen one, whichever one that is. So I'm going to use a student's example here. So you're going to open up your pattern file. Again, it's either your geometric or your motif, it doesn't matter. And you do need to open up your swatches panel. So like as I can see here, there's my pattern. It's in the swatches panel. The next thing we're going to need to open is we're going to need to open a template. So you're going to go to File, Open. You need to scroll down to Courses, Art, Print Shop, Templates. And you need the Illustrator shoe template file. Make sure you're grabbing the Illustrator one and not the Photoshop one. And click Open. Okay, so let's immediately save this in your cloud. So you're going to go to File, Save As. In the cloud, I want you to call it shoe and then your name. Okay? Pretty easy. All right, so here's the first problem we have. So we know that when you create a pattern, it adds it to the swatches panel. However, it's only for that file. So if I were to go on the shoe template file, notice that pattern disappears. It's not here anymore. So I have to save this pattern. So here's how we're going to do this. With our pattern open, you're going to click on the Libraries button that's on the bottom, and you're going to go to Save Swatches. Now I want you to save it in your network folder. So you're going to scroll down. You need to find the folder that has your name on it. If you struggle finding this folder/drive, let me know. And you're just going to give it a name that you can find again. So I'm going to call it Star Pattern just so I can locate it, and I'm going to click Save. Okay? And then I'm just going to close that file. I don't need that pattern file anymore. Okay? Now I need to load it in this new one. So I'm going to go to that Libraries button at the bottom of my swatches panel again. But this time I'm going to go to Other Library. It should be at the bottom of that list. It's going to want you to search for it. So I'm going to go back to my folder. So I've got to scroll down till I find that network folder. And then I need to find that it'll show up as like a Illustrator file. So I called it Star Pattern. There it is. And I'm going to click Open. Now it will probably open it up in a new swatches panel. It doesn't matter. It may put it up here, but if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to click and delete this text right here. And then we're going to fill this bottom square with our pattern. Pretty simple, right? Okay. However, we do want to create a swatch color scheme so that it's kind of just showing us that as designers, we know what we're doing here. So you're going to identify what the colors that are in your work here. Now, if you have more than 3 colors, you're going to want to make more than 3 boxes. And I would just make a copy and move it over. Now, if you have more than that, I mean, if you have more, you can add more, right? Just the only thing I ask is just make sure that everything is lining up. Okay, I'm going a little overboard here, but you get the general idea, right? Most of us are only going to have probably max 6, okay? Even if you have more colors, you can always just decide, I'm just going to do the main 6, all right? So we've got to sample the colors, but here's the problem with this. If I try to grab my sample tool, it's going to sample that pattern, right? We don't want to sample the pattern. So what we have to do is we have to open up the pattern editor. So I am going to double click on this. Oop, I might have to do it up here. And it's going to open up this pattern. So it's going to kind of activate those objects. And then I'm going to sample from here. So now I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and I'm going to sample that green color. Now I got to save it in my swatches. I'm going to drag. All I did is I clicked and dragged. I clicked on that foreground color chip and I dragged and dropped into the panel. Now I'm going to sample the orange, drag and drop. Oh, come on. There we go. There's my orange. Can click on one of those. Oops, see, that's a pattern. You guys probably won't have that. Well, I guess you can. We'll add it like that. Okay, so there's our or swatches. I'm going to click done to that. So then I'm just going to fill these boxes. So I'm going to say this is the green, this is the orange, and this is the gradient. Okay, so that's the general idea. You got it, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, now is where the fun starts, because now we get to start adding color to this thing. I do want you to make sure that you leave the Vans logo in here. And then we're just going to start filling in all these objects. Every single one of these is an object, so I can fill them either with the pattern, that we created, right? So I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm filling, clicking my little pattern. Or I can choose to actually fill in with one of my color scheme colors. This is why we have that color scheme. That's why we did these color chips on the bottom. You can always use neutrals. You can leave white or black. So if I wanted to make like this line black, I would make that black. I can change my laces colors. Maybe I'll do my laces that orange color. But you're basically just going to have some fun showing me as a designer what you would want that finished shoe to look like. You can have these as pattern, or you can leave them solid. A lot of people like to only do the pattern on one side. That's fine. On one part, it's totally up to you. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Before you're finished, make sure that, as always, you hit share with me, and then you go into Google Classroom and fill out any forms or paperwork you would have to for this great assignment, and make sure you hit mark as done, especially if there is no paperwork or self-reflection that you need to do for this. Great job, designers.